So I'm Walker Seeley. I decided to do my project on physical objects used for revelation, like the seer stones. Before this course, I'd really only heard about the Urim and Thummim as far as being used to translate and receive revelation. So hearing that Joseph Smith found a seer stone, especially being found in a well, not like with the Book of Mormon, and using that to translate, it wasn't a faith obstacle, but it did draw questions, so I want to do my project to learn a little more about it. So my topic is the use of physical instruments for revelation. So the related areas of study, I did this based off of Unit 3 of the Book of Mormon, especially concerning the translation and coming forth of the Book of Mormon, and Major Concept 3, translation instruments, seer stones, Urim and Thummim. As far as the type of doctrine goes, I decided this was a supporting doctrine. In class, we learned that this is directly from class, it says, supporting doctrines can be eternal truths, but knowledge of them, unlike core doctrines, are not necessarily essential for salvation. In other words, supporting doctrines help us understand and elaborate on the eternal doctrines of salvation. They expand upon our understanding of core doctrines, often providing explanation of how such teachings function. So obviously, revelation is a core doctrine, but I figured that this really focused on the how of revelation, so I decided it was a supporting doctrine as far as physical objects being used for revelation, like seer stones, Urim and Thummim, and different things throughout the course of time. A couple scholarly articles. The first one I thought was really good, especially if you want to learn a little bit more about the how the translation process occurred. It's by Roger Nicholson, The Spectacles, the Stone, the Hat, and the Book, a 21st century believer's view of the boom of Mormon translation. Article 2 is also really good, by Richard Van Wagner and Steve Walker, Joseph Smith, The Gift of Seeing. And you can find them here. All right, so related prophetic talks. Now, these two talks are awesome. I recommend you read them regardless if you're interested in the topic, because they're really cool and they enlighten you a lot on the process of revelation, especially concerning Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. So, by The Gift and Power of God by Elder Neal A. Maxwell, and A Treasured Testament by Elder Russell Nelson, back when he was in the Quorum of the 12, or when he was an apostle, not the president. All right, so related Doctrine and Covenant sections and verses. Now, I chose these two verses because it talks about how the Urim and Thummim was used and for revelation. D&C 10, 1 through 3, this is right after the translated pages were lost. It says, "Now behold, I say unto you that because you delivered up those writings which you had power given unto you to translate by the means of the Urim and Thummim into the hands of a wicked man, you have lost them. And you have lost your gift in the same time, and your mind became darkened. Nevertheless, it is now restored unto you again. Therefore, see that you are faithful, and continue on unto the finishing of the remainder of the work of translation as you have begun." And then the second one, "And gave him power from on high by the means which were before prepared to translate the Book of Mormon." And means in the footnotes refers to the Urim and Thummim. So I thought that was really important as well. All right, and the Joseph Smith papers. Now, I really like this one. The first one says, Joseph produced a small stone called the seer stone, and putting it into a hat, soon commenced speaking and asked Elder Pratt to write as he would speak. So this kind of shows how that seer stone, those physical objects, were used for the revelation and translation. And I thought that was great because it's kind of cool to get the actual record of it happening. But I also wanted to include this one. Now, this one's not necessarily about physical objects, but it just shows that Joseph Smith used other things like, different methods of revelation. For example, here it says, "I feel that it would be according to the mind of the Spirit, for by it these things were put into my heart, which I know to be the Spirit of truth now." You can find those in the Joseph Smith papers. Now, as far as the concepts go, I decided to kind of talk about them beforehand, and we'll talk about them later. But it says I liked putting Joseph Smith using the seer stones into perspective. Now, there are different patterns of revelation throughout time. Moses, for example, with the burning bush, everyone knows that story. Daniel had lots of dreams. That's how he received revelation. Lehi, dreams and visions. I really like him and his example of how he was a visionary man, and the Lord talked to him through visions, and it just made sense that way. And then, different times you see angels, visions, everything. But it just kind of puts into perspective now, Joseph Smith using seer stones wasn't as fantastic or wild as it seemed the first time I heard it. So the key concepts that I wanted to focus on were, the first one is, many times physical objects like seer stones were used by the Lord's servants to receive revelation and to show forth the power of God. Joseph Smith used them as well. This is referenced in the Bible and the Book of Mormon, and we have physical evidence of that today. In concept 2, the Lord reveals his truths in a way that makes sense to the recipient. Although seer stones may seem far-fetched in today's world, they were commonly used in Joseph's day. So I really like that because it shows that the Lord really caters to the individual that he's giving the revelation to. Now, the key takeaway is this. The doctrine concerning revelation is simple. The Lord speaks to his children personally through personal revelation, but also speaks to his children through prophets. This being said, the Lord uses many methods to reveal his will to the servants, the prophets. He does it in a way that they are able to comprehend. Regardless of how revelation is received, the purpose of revelation remains the same. We should not worry as much about how revelation is received, but why it is received and what it means for us. Thank you for watching this, and I hope it was enlightening in some way.